Okay. So, last time on the show, we were talking about uh, what happened just before I became homeless. So, basically, I ran out of money because I kept trying to go to Denver. Every time I would see those commercials that would tell me to go to Denver, I'd believe it was some kind of a surreptitious message from the Illuminati to go to Denver to have some blackmail event happen by raping and or murdering some child in order to jump me into this group, or else they'll just kill me. So I went through $5,000, every dime that I had really went into going to Denver like every weekend. And one weekend I ended up getting caught in a blizzard and I couldn't make it back home for 3 days and I lost my job. And then me and Brent ended up getting evicted because we couldn't make the rent anymore. So then after I got evicted, then I go to Denver, and because I'm still trying to get everything done, and because Denver is full of work and there was no work in Grand Junction. The biggest reason that I went to Denver actually wasn't to deal with trying to get this blackmail thing taken care of. It was actually because of work, because I didn't have any work in Grand Junction. I kept trying after I lost my job to get another job, and I just could not get hired. Not even at a temp agency. There was just no job that I could get. No one would take me, and so I had to go to Denver in order to find a job. So I get to Denver, and this is the saddest thing in the beginning of it, is my little cat, Snoopy, and I still miss my cat, and I still feel guilty about not taking good care of her because I didn't take very good care of her. After I started dating Chelsea, that cat went through hell. I basically snuck that cat into Chelsea's apartment, and it was such a sick thing to do because Snoopy was my cat that we found her outside because she was born outside. She was born, just as a stray, and she, as a kitten, would come up. I don't know where her mom or dad were. No one knows what was going on with her parents, but she used to rub up against Brent's leg and like purr and stuff when we were outside smoking cigarettes. And I love cats, especially black cats. And she was all black, beautiful cat, gorgeous cat. And I would slowly start to pet her and get her, introduced to me. And eventually she got so comfortable with me that she followed me inside my apartment. And, of course I'd feed her and give her water, and I always left the window open so that she could leave, because I have always believed that you cannot keep any being in a locked room, because that's solitary confinement. It'll get into their head. It will freak them out. I think it's an act of torture to confine a being to a tiny little area. So I would always leave the window open, even in the middle of winter. I would always let Snoopy in and out whenever she wanted. And sometimes she'd be gone for a few days before she would come back. And then, she would just all of a sudden show up and purr and be all like, oh, how are you? And that was just how Snoopy was. Well, I was very gentle with Snoopy when I was taking care of her before I started dating Chelsea. I was very, very gentle with Snoopy, and I would never lock her indoors, and I would always make sure that she always had a full thing of food and water. she didn't get fed at certain times or had food withheld. She always had more than enough food. And she was so cute. She used to eat food at the same time that I would. If I would get up and go into the kitchen and start making food, she would go over to her food. If I was making food, then she was just doing whatever she was doing. But the moment that I would bring my food in to my room and start eating it, because I would always eat in my bedroom, she would immediately go out and into the kitchen where her food was at and go eat at the same time that I did. I just thought that was adorable. She used to go and eat the same time that I would. Almost like she was eating with me. It was just really cute. But anyway, she was really attached to me over the years because I took care of her for 10 years. I took care of her for a long time. So she had grown really attached to me, and I broke her trust a lot because, like, when she got pregnant, I wasn't there when she gave birth. She really never got over that with me. She never trusted me the same after that. And you know, I know that sounds like, oh, well, you're turning her into a person. She is a person. You know, I don't really draw a distinction between animals and humans. They're all people. They feel, they have relationships with you, they can feel betrayed, they understand trust, and you know, they develop a closeness with us if we allow it. And if we respect their personhood, then they develop a real relationship with us instead of it just being a decorative object like it is with a lot of people. Not most people. I think most people agree with me that, yeah, my pet is a person. They're a part of the family. They have a real relationship with me. It's not just that they live here and the only reason they live here is to eat food and get pet. They have an actual relationship with us, you know? Well, anyway, the saddest thing was when I got evicted, I was trying to think about Snoopy, and I was like, you know, I don't want to abandon Snoopy. And I really should have. If I had just left and just allowed Snoopy to just, you know, run around and do whatever she was going to do, yeah, she would have missed me and she would have meowed and been sad like she was when she was pregnant. I wasn't there when she gave birth, and she was all sad about that. Sam told me that she used to cry around outside my window, like every night, really loud, when I was gone. And you know, that's, like I said, they miss us. And so anyway, I had taken advantage of Snoopy's trust and got her to go into Chelsea's apartment and then immediately shut the door and locked her in there. Because remember, Chelsea lived upstairs, not downstairs. So I can't open the window and let Snoopy out because she's, you know, 20 feet off the ground. She would break all of her legs on the way down. She can't just jump out the window like she did on the lower floor. So she was locked in, and I didn't see much of her because she was so fucking scared, and she probably felt really betrayed by me that I, of all people, the one that was supposed to be taking care of her, was the very one that locked her in. And then after Chelsea and I broke up, then Snoopy was at least free from Chelsea's house, thank God. But then I tried to bring Snoopy with me, and I put Snoopy in the U-Haul. And as soon as I shut the door, she tried to jump out the window, but the window was shut, and so she slams her face right on the fucking window, and then just immediately jumps down and goes underneath the seat. And I had to like pry her out from underneath it after we got to Denver. And she didn't make a sound the entire time. She was dead silent. Just, it was so sad. And then when I brought her in to the hotel, she's so weak because she didn't eat or drink anything, and she's like emotionally just fried. And I brought her into the hotel room, and she just crawls and slowly, weakly crawls under the the bed, like she was gonna die or something. And then when I finally ran out of money and I couldn't afford the hotel room anymore, I had to put her in this little box, little shoebox kind of a thing, and I brought her outside where I was gonna stay, and she ran off, and I never saw her again. And I don't know what happened to her. I left her food and water, but then I had to leave that area because there was nothing in the area to sustain me. I had to go and into town and try to find a job and food, and so I had to leave her there. And I still feel bad about that to this day. Because I didn't take care of myself, because I didn't put my foot down, because I didn't have principles that I stood up for. She had to pay that price. And Brandon had to pay that price. A lot of people had to pay a lot because I went against my own principles. A lot. So that's how it started off, with Snoopy running off. And I loved that cat, man. I really loved Snoopy. He's my favorite little kitty. But I couldn't take care of her, and so she ran off. And that's how it started. It's the very first thing that happened to me after I got to Denver was I lost Snoopy. And I met this black chick, and remember, I just started learning how to speak code, so I was talking to this black chick that was outside smoking a cigarette, and she's talking to me about, maybe getting something to eat, and I didn't pick up on it in time, and so she felt like it was a lost cause, and so that I couldn't really get any help from her, because that's the only way that I really could have gotten help, is if I spoke code to someone and got in bed with them so that they would take care of me. And it just it was stuff like that that just really got my eyes to open as to where the world really is. And it's like, if you're not, you basically have to pay your way through existence here. Like, no one is just allowed to retain their own dignity. They have to be a fuck toy in order to just be treated like a normal human being and helped out. If you need help, you have to fuck. You have to be a human gentle, basically. And I couldn't hack it because I didn't know how to speak code well enough to do it, so I couldn't get any help from her. Ended up going into town, and I walked because I had no car, no bicycle. Actually, I think I may have been able to keep my bike, I don't remember. But in any case, I made it into town finally. And I still had some food stamps back when I first got there, so even after I ran out of money, I was still able to go to the store and get food, thank God. So I did, and that was how I survived for the first, I'd say, like, month. And I would go and I'd find, like, garbage and stuff and build, like, shanties and lean-tos. And it was winter, it was January when I first got here, so it was below freezing all day, every day for months. And like I said, after I got into town, I had run out of pot, and I started to find these joints on the ground, and that's when I had that OD, when I was not able to stand up, and I was hyperventilating, and I couldn't breathe, and my central nervous system was shutting down after I took 5 hits off of the joint that I just happened to find on the ground. It was like all joints on the ground laced with fentanyl, and it almost killed me. And then after, and I forgot to mention in the video that I uploaded that Caleb saved my life once, because Raimundo gave me a pill that, unbeknownst to me, but knownst to him, was filled with fentanyl. And so I took that pill, and then I drank, and then I snorted a little bump of coke, and that's what really got me sick, and that's why I started to nod out. It's because I basically had consumed a speedball, although I didn't really know it at the time. And so he had to save my life, and that was the first time I almost died on fentanyl. And the second time I almost died on fentanyl was after I'd gotten into town in Denver, and I had smoked 5 hits off of a joint that I found on the ground, and then I almost died again, only Caleb wasn't there to save me, so it was even scarier. And I'm pretty sure the only thing that got me through that one was adrenaline. And I swore it off, and I bargained with Jesus, and I said, Jesus, if you let me survive, I promise that I will never smoke another joint off the ground ever again. And that lasted all of about maybe a month, and then I did it again. So off and on, I would find these joints that would be laced, or sometimes I would just have a panic attack because I thought it was laced, but usually it was laced, because everybody does fentanyl out here. Every single fucking homeless bum on the street, every fucking one of them does fentanyl. I don't know why, and I don't know how, but somehow they all do it. And when they smoke it, they'll put it into a joint that you'll find at the dispensary, so it looks like it's just a dispensary joint, which is why I trusted it and I thought it was fine, because my innocent ass didn't even know what fentanyl was at that time, and I didn't know what Narcan was, and I didn't know about anything. So when I took those hits, I very easily could have died, and I don't know how I survived it, but somehow I did, barely. And you know, that was just one of many near-death experiences that I had. I had a few semi-suicidal events. I remember going into a Kmart when I was getting closer to downtown area. This is right after I got here for the first time when I was homeless. And I went into this Kmart, and it was like really late at night, and there was no one in it. And I was going to go get some sleeping medication and just overdose on sleeping medication, because it was like the most painless way that I could die. And I remember I had the sleeping medication with me, and I was sitting in the stall, I was sitting in the bathroom, and I was going to take it and overdose and die. And I just didn't have the balls. I got really afraid of it, and I was like, you know what, I don't want to die. I can't kill myself. So I put the sleeping pills back, but I did have a brief intent of killing myself, because I couldn't live like that, where it was like freezing ass cold, and I have to sleep out there, and I wake up out there, and I stay all day out there, and I have no warmth anywhere around me, and there's no friends, and no phone, and no family, and no money, and nowhere to go, and it's freezing ass cold, and the wind is blowing, and it's blizzard ass fucking snow on the goddamn ground, and it's like that all day, every day, and I just couldn't deal with it, man. But after that, I finally made it all the way downtown, and somehow found a homeless shelter soup kitchen kind of a thing, over at, what the hell was it called? It was, shit. It was, what the hell is it called? I can't even remember what the hell the damn thing was called. It's on 23rd and Lawrence Street, and it's Jesus Saves. There it is. Denver Rescue Mission. Most people just call it Jesus Saves because the sign out front of it says Jesus Saves, and it's got a star on it, and it's like this red neon sign that says Jesus Saves, and so everybody just calls it Jesus Saves. But it's Denver Rescue Mission is its actual name. And what they do is they just feed you. And they'll occasionally pray and stuff, but that's all they do. They just feed you and pray. And you also get bused over to another building, another facility that is also under their ownership, Denver Rescue Mission. And they'll bus you over to an area where you can spend the night for free. But the thing is you don't get your own room. You get a cot. And you're one among usually 150, maybe 200 people in one room. And so everybody's getting sick. Everybody's getting bed bugs. Everybody's fighting everybody. Everybody's shouting and freaking out and threatening each other with knives and taking a shit on the floor. And it's just like, it's all kinds of craziness, man. Like, you don't want to deal with the homeless shelter. You may as well just stay outside, honestly. The only reason that I would go into the homeless shelter areas like that is if I absolutely had to, because it was freezing outside. If it was above freezing, I didn't go in there after a while. I used to just go there all the time because I didn't see anything wrong with it. And plus, when I first got there, it was wintertime and I had to anyway. But just so I wouldn't freeze outside, because I was getting frostbite and shit. I still have scars from it. But thankfully it was, just superficial. It didn't get that deep, but I still did get frostbite. I got frostbite on my toes that year, the first year that I was out. Because I didn't know, I wrapped my feet really tight where there was no room for air with the blanket, because that's what you would intuitively do, is you want the blanket as close to your skin as possible because you think the blanket itself is warm. It's not. The blanket, all it does is it just traps the heated air inside. And that only works if there's no wind. If there's wind, then the air that's just past the blanket is going to get cold too, because the wind will force the cold air through the porous fibers of the blanket, and it'll cool off the air to the point of it being just as cold under the blanket as it is outside of it if there's too much wind. And if there's no pocket for the air to get warm from your body heat, then it's just going to freeze. And I didn't know that, and so I wrapped my feet, and you're never supposed to wrap your feet. And I wrapped my feet, and I got frostbite on my toes because of it. But then eventually I found how to stay the night over at the homeless shelter, and I was able to do that. But then the problem is that I got bed bugs, and I got bed bugs. I actually first got bed bugs from picking up a shirt that was on the ground because I didn't know any better, and I figured, well, I mean, it doesn't stink, so I guess I'll just wear that, because I had worn the same shirt for like a month and I couldn't stand wearing it anymore. It was all crusty. So I picked this shirt up off the ground, and when I put it on, I noticed that there was all these black marks, these little, they almost look like seedlings, like grass seedlings that had been stuck into the fibers of the shirt. But I didn't think anything of it. I just figured whatever. And then it turns out those were bed bugs, and I caught bed bugs that day, and I had bed bugs pretty much continuously for 6 years. And bed bugs suck, man. What happens with bed bugs is they're worse than mosquitoes because they'll itch. They itch really bad. And so you'll feel them crawling around sometimes. If you get enough of them, by the time that you've gotten a bunch of bed bugs like really infested into your shit, you'll feel them crawling around on your skin in the middle of the night. And they'll itch the whole time. And every time they bite you, then you'll have, it's kind of like with a mosquito, you'll have the itch because they'll bite you. And every time that you go to the homeless shelter, even if you don't pick up shirts off the ground, you still get bed bugs because somebody there has bed bugs and they travel around and get all over the fucking place, and so everybody gets bed bugs. So what you have to do is, you have to take your shirt, and I've only ever killed bed bugs once. Every other time that I've tried doing it, and I've tried a bunch of times, I only ever succeeded one time, and it was because I took my shirt off and I put it outside in the snow and I let it sit there for 12 hours. And then I finally picked it up off the snow after 12 hours of being outside in below freezing weather the whole time. The bed bugs have died. And that's really the only way to do it. It has to be well below freezing, and you have to leave it up there for hours before they die. Bed bugs are very durable creatures. And I know I'm spending a long time on bed bugs, but when you have them for 6 years, then you'll understand why. Like, these little fuckers are like half your day, because every day, whenever I would get a few minutes to sit down and not do anything, I would be picking out bed bugs out of my shirt and my underwear and my pants, and just, looking for bed bugs and then picking them out and throwing them on the ground or squishing them. And so it's kind of like when you're homeless and you smoke cigarettes, you have to find cigarettes that are on the ground and just constantly be looking for cigarettes and pick them up and collect them, because, well, for me, for example, I get sick, violently ill, if I don't have nicotine. If I don't have enough nicotine, I will not only have diarrhea and vomit, but I won't be able to fucking walk. I won't be able to get up and move, because I'm so ridiculously over the top addicted to nicotine. It is viscerally, violently painful. And honestly, ODing on fentanyl, as scary as that is, if you take the fear out of it, it hurts more to be in nicotine withdrawals than it does to overdose on fentanyl. Physically, it hurts more. There is nothing in comparison to it. It's the worst feeling I've ever had in my life, is nicotine withdrawals. It has something to do with my digestive system. I've always had a really fucked up digestive system, and so if I don't have enough nicotine, I will shit myself. I'll have violent diarrhea, vomit. I can't eat anything for like hours, maybe even over a day, that I physically cannot hold it in to my stomach. I'll throw it up because I can't. It just makes me nauseous not having the nicotine, and I can't digest it and I throw it up, or I just have diarrhea and it just goes right through me. So most of my days I would spend wandering around looking for cigarette butts so that wouldn't happen to me. And occasionally somebody would give me $5 or $10 or even $20, and I could go get nicotine pouches, or I could go get a pack of cigarettes, which is rare. Usually I would just get the cheapest thing I could, which would be either patches or pouches of nicotine. But I wouldn't get paid that often because it's coming from random people that just happen to give it to you, so you don't necessarily get it all the time. So most days, most of the time, I was outside walking around looking for cigarette butts. Now, some of those people that go to the homeless shelter, they'll be homeless, but they'll have some money because their family will send it to them, or they'll get some kind of a government aid or something like that, or they'll get unemployment and they'll be able to pay for their own cigarettes and shit. But most of us had to go around looking for cigarette butts and just try to smoke what little we found off of them. You know, sometimes you'll find half a cigarette. Sometimes you'll find a full cigarette, very rarely, but every once in a while you'll find a full cigarette on the ground and you can smoke it. But that's what I spent most of my day doing, was just looking for cigarette butts. And like I said, I had to, because if I didn't smoke, then I'd have diarrhea and vomiting, and I wouldn't be able to eat, and I wouldn't be able to walk or move anywhere, because I'd be in such great amount of pain that I couldn't go anywhere or do anything. Not that I had anything to do or anywhere to go anyway, other than to just get cigarette butts. And I always wanted to cut down and cut down and cut down. I just never could, because there was this psychological thing about not ever having enough nicotine, where it was like, oh, I have to go and go find another one, because I would only ever find like one every hour or so. So I would smoke it as I found them. I'd be smoking them, and every once in a while I would find an ashtray where I could rate it, and I'd get like 4 or 5 or 6 cigarette butts all at once. But most of the time, if they found out that I was going through their ashtray, they would always take the ashtray away. And I always wondered about that. Like, why would you do that? Why would you take the ashtray away? Because it's not going to stop me from checking it. I'll still come by and look and see if there's anything in the ashtray anyway, even if it's not being used, because there might be a chance that it is being used. Or if they take it away, I won't know that they took it away. So I'll still have to come by and check to see if it's there or not. So it doesn't stop me from coming around. But for some reason, every single time that they would find out that I would go through their ashtray, regardless if it was a bar or a club or a restaurant or wherever it was, if they found out that I was going through their cigarette butts in the ashtray, they would always take the ashtray away. Every fucking time they would take the ashtray away. So there was never a time when I could find a consistent place where I could get cigarette butts that would be enough for me to be able to make it through an entire day. So I would have to spend the entire day doing nothing but looking for cigarette butts on the ground randomly, all the time, every time, all day, every day. Because if I ever did find an ashtray that had enough to sustain me for a whole day, they would get rid of it. And it's like, god damn, man. So, and obviously I can't pay for my own cigarettes because I'm fucking homeless. I can't pay for my own food. I can't pay for anything. So that's how I lived. I would just go out and spend, pretty much every waking moment of my free time going to look for cigarettes. And I would have to try to collect as many as I could, because by the time I got to the shelter at night, I wouldn't be able to go out and look for any more. So I would have, in between the time that I got dropped off in the morning, which was about, I want to say somewhere between 6 and 9 a.m., depending on when I got up and which bus I was able to catch, I would get into town about somewhere between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. every day. And then I'd eat breakfast and I'd be out walking around at about 10 a.m. And this is how I spent pretty much 6 years of my life. I would get dropped off in the morning about somewhere between 6 and 9 a.m. I would eat breakfast if I could eat it, because usually the breakfast that they would have would be so atrocious that I couldn't fucking eat the goddamn thing. But if it was edible, I would eat the breakfast, and then I would go walk down the street, usually to the library, so I could go read. And on my way there, I would look for cigarette butts and, smoke whatever I found on the way there. Because by that time I would have run out of cigarettes, because I smoked the last ones at night before I go to sleep. So I'm out looking for cigarette butts in the morning. Right after breakfast, I'm looking for cigarette butts. And usually I would have just enough to be able to make it after breakfast. I'd have like one refry that was left over that I would save so that I could have it after breakfast. But sometimes I wouldn't have that, and I would already be having nicotine withdrawals by the time I got dropped off. And so I'd have to immediately go out and try to find cigarette butts on the ground. And in the middle of winter, it's kind of difficult, especially when there's so many homeless people that are all out doing the same thing. And they all go to the same places, and they all pick up the same cigarette butts in the same areas. And so it got really difficult to find cigarette butts. And then, yeah, and on top of that, I had bed bugs, and on top of that, I was sick pretty much every other week because when you're stuck in a room with 200 other people, you're going to get sick. There's no way around it. There's not enough ventilation to be able to get around it. Not only that, but you're eating dinner with them too. So you're spending about half your day cooped up with 200 people all stuck in one room. 8 hours for sleeping, 2 hours just, sitting in there, trying to go to sleep. And then I'd say about another 2 hours afterwards, if you're on the bus or if you're eating breakfast or eating dinner, then you're still next to those same people and they're sick and they're getting sick and they're picking shit up off the ground and they get sick. And then they pass it to somebody else when they rip a fart and somebody smells it. Now they're sick. And so, on and on and on. And so you're always sick. You've always got bed bugs. You're always tired because you have to always be walking around looking for cigarette butts. And you never find enough, so you're always jonesing and have that nicotine withdrawal feeling like your stomach is all tense and tightened up and you're irritated and pissed off. And that's just how you live. And you live like that every day, all day, for years. And it's just maddening. And that's just the general malaise. That's just the general physical malaise. Then there's the actual homeless population. Which, being homeless, you try to avoid them at all costs because these people are fucked. They're in and out of prison. Like I had this one dude, when I first got into the homeless shelter, it was like really fucked up. It was like a bunch of people that had just gotten out of prison and stuff. And they would always be trying to prove something, or they'd always be all pissed off about something that just didn't fucking matter. It never mattered. It was never over anything that mattered. It was always something stupid. Like, this dude sat across from me, and every time I would take a bite, he would say something like really fucked up. And this is another one of those code things. And that's why I had to pick up on it so fast, is because I had to learn from people that were in and out of fucking prison for murder. And I'm trying to eat goddamn, free dinner or free lunch or breakfast, and they're sitting right across from me, and they're doing this weird code shit. So I had to deal with that. I mean, some of the people that would go in there were just absolutely fucked in the fucking head, man. Just fucked for life. Like, this one dude would show up, and he would literally have actual literal shit seeping out of his pants because he had already shat through his underwear, and it had soaked all the way through his underwear, and then it soaked all the way through his jeans, and it was seeping out of his jeans. I mean, and you try not getting sick around that, and they'll just sit right to It just doesn't matter. It's just shit right in his fucking pants. And why? I have no idea. But that's what he did. Then we had this one dude that was a drunken Indian guy. And he would pick fights with people for no goddamn reason. One time he just slammed my fucking head into the mirror of the bathroom for no reason. Absolutely no goddamn reason. He just fucking shoves my head in there. Because I had looked at him wrong or said something wrong or whatever. And then you've got all the gay ones, and those ones are possibly the most scary ones, are the homosexual rapist guys, where they'll be like, oh, well, I've got some money, so, whenever you want to get a hotel room and actually get out of here and, be responsible, come over here, and it's like, oh, fuck you, dude. But you got to deal with that, and, I had one guy shove his thumb inside my asshole. He jumped out from behind a fucking tree, and I was laying down on the ground with my ass up, I guess, because I was laying on my face, on my front, and I didn't think anything of it because I thought I was out there alone and I didn't think anyone was around. Well, apparently that posture turned him on enough that he jumped out from behind the fucking tree and shoved his thumb up my ass and waved his limp dick in my face and said, "Hey, I wonder if you like this." And it's like the weird shit, man, that you just would not fucking believe, man. I had another dude, Jerome, physically hold me down and try to rape me. That was fucking scary. I got beat up. Well, I guess not really beat up, but I got punched by some meth addict looking for some other meth addict. And him being a meth addict, he didn't know anything about anything and thought he knew everything about everything, because that's what tweakers do. Some of them, if they get strung out. Well, this one, that's what he did. And so he found me one night. I was, or day actually, it was in the day. I was laying down on my latest and greatest makeshift thing that I was trying to build as some kind of a shelter, because God forbid I had to stay in the fucking homeless shelter again, where people are freaking the fuck out and farting and screaming and yelling and causing all kinds of mayhem. I can't tell you how many times the cops got called on that place, man. It was like every week, at least, there was somebody that was trying to stab somebody, or somebody that was trying to kill somebody, or some bullshit. It would always happen, because there'd be some thug that says that he's hard and some other thug that says that he's not hard enough, or somebody cuts a loud fart and it freaks somebody else out, or somebody's talking to their girlfriend and some other guy gets jealous, doesn't want to hear it because he's not getting laid in years, and so he freaks out and says, "Shut the fuck up," and blah, blah, blah. Or somebody won't change the channel on the TV and they freak out about that. Or somebody, someone stole my phone because they left it out for 6 hours and didn't bother to check it, blah, blah, blah. And it's just always some crazy fucking nightmarish shit. And because people are screaming and yelling all goddamn night long, and there's always somebody snoring, there's at least one guy that's snoring so fucking loud that you can't hear anything else except the snoring. And it's irregular, so you can't zone it out. It's just, and there's bed bugs, so you're constantly itching, and you're sick because you're constantly getting sick from having to deal with all these other sick fuckers. And there's everybody screaming and yelling, and you have no money, and you have no friends, and you have no life, and you have nothing to look forward to. And everybody's treating you like you're a little kid or a cow, because they're like, well, now you got to stand up and go here. You're always getting searched and seized. People are always talking down to you because they had to deal with some other dumbass the same day that asked the same question, so you had to be the unlucky one to hear the crap today. There's always some crap going on, and then you can't get hired anywhere, and then it's just, it's fucking nightmarish. And it's like, yeah, you wonder why these homeless people are assholes and they're screaming at buildings and stuff. It's because of that. It's because they've had bed bugs for 6 years, and they haven't had a single human being pay them any kind of mind for years on end, to the point where they themselves wonder if they even exist anymore. If they do get talked to, they're getting talked down to, or they're being disrespected, or they're being threatened, or they're being, told what to do, or they're getting yelled at. It's just a fucking goddamn shitstorm hell that and I'll tell you, I learned some things about being homeless, and this is going to come into play later on when I become a millionaire in a few more years. Because I'm on a 3-year schedule for becoming a millionaire. Because if I make 5% a week, 25% a month, then I'm doubling my money every 4 months. And if you double your money every 4 months, even if you only start out with $2,000, after 3 years, you end up with $1 million. And it's just the law of compounding returns that makes that happen. So when I become a millionaire, I'm going to set up my own homeless rescue place. And I can tell you this, the number one thing that was the most annoying fucking thing out of all the stuff that was annoying was having my shit stolen, because when you're homeless, it's almost impossible to get any shit, to get anything, to get any kind of items. It's almost impossible because you can't pay for it and you have no income. So there's like no way of getting anything unless you're able to find it on the ground. And even if you find it, then you have to carry it with you everywhere you fucking go. And like I said, there's still people that are gonna steal from you and shit. And so it's just like almost impossible to get anything. Well, when I get my place going, I'm gonna make sure that nobody can steal anybody's shit, because they'll all have their own little room. And everybody's shit will be tracked. And that's how we're gonna solve that problem. But they didn't solve that problem, and so everybody's getting stolen from all the fucking time. And so that was the most annoying thing. Especially your phone. If someone steals your phone, then, or if you lose your phone, but usually someone steals it. If someone steals your phone, that sets a homeless person back about 6 months. Because the only way that a homeless person can get access to a phone is if you get one of those government phones where they're free. And they don't offer those all over the place all the time. They only offer them in some places sometimes. It's actually really rare to find it. You might find one maybe once every 3 months if you're lucky. Most of the time you're gonna find one every 6 months. It's really difficult to get a phone. Now, once you do get that phone, then you have to keep it all the fucking time, which means that you can't ever charge it unless you're sitting right fucking next to it. And if you go anywhere else, then, you know, someone's gonna run up and snatch the thing. You have to be on top of that. They'll steal your backpack too. And if your backpack has your phone in it, well, now you lost your phone, along with everything else that you've been able to accumulate. And, you know, if you go to St. Francis and you get some free clothes, socks, something like that, well, that's gone too, because that was in the backpack. And you have to have a backpack because you can't carry all that stuff in your hands, so you're gonna have to put it in something. And then you're gonna have to carry that around with you. And that's the second most annoying thing about being homeless, is that you have to carry everything that you own with you everywhere that you go. And it's so annoying because you can't put anything down and just leave it there. And most people take that for granted so often. I still do to this day, even after fucking 8 years on the street. I still take that for granted. That I can actually, I have an apartment now where I can just put things and I don't have to carry them with me everywhere that I go. But that happens constantly. There's always somebody stealing your shit. And if they aren't stealing it from you right now, then you have to worry that they will. And you have to do everything in your power to do whatever you can to make sure that they don't. So you know, even while you're wearing your backpack, you can't stand there and stand still, because people will rifle through it. They'll zip open your backpack and they'll start going through it and they'll steal shit, and you won't even feel it or see it because it's behind you. And you won't feel it because they're just softly, gently going through your shit. So you have to wiggle around constantly so that they can't, you know, just reach in and grab whatever you have. I mean, it's just crazy, man. And I'll leave it at that for now.